Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Let's see what's going on the second front opened against the Russians, and that is in Syria. Not good news from there, not good news. It seems like the rebels, the democratic forces, or the jihadists, or the terrorists, however you want to refer to those people, fighting against the legitimate government of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, kicked the Syrian army out of an important town. Let me show you. Now, the Syrians are supported by the Russians. The Russians are fighting together with them against these guys. So, Russia Today, 5th of December 2024. Syrian army announces exit from key city. And the cat is right in front of the screen. Come on, move on, move on, move on. The central city of Hama has been surrounded by jihadist forces. The Syrian army has announced its withdrawal from the central city of Hama after fierce fighting with Islamist militants. So let me show you where that is. And that is, we're going to start like this. Well, this is a map of the Middle East. This is Syria, this is Turkey, this is Iraq, this is Lebanon, this is Jordan. So we're going to focus on this region. This is the Atlantic Ocean, this is Cyprus. So it's right here where the S is. Let me show you. Boom. This is a map of Syria, independent sovereign Syria. But this part right here of Syria belongs to Americans. This one to the Kurds, and this one to the legitimate government of Bashar al-Assad. So here is Hama. This is where these guys withdrew from. And here is Hama again. This is the city. And we're going to see what the hell is this. This is a big city with an airport right here, military airport. But let's do like this. That's a big town. All that now is surrounded by the insurgents, however we want to call them. And this is the Mediterranean Sea here. Homs, Hama. Where's Hama? Come on now. Play with me a little bit. So right here, north of Homs is Hama. We're going to zoom out a little bit. I want to show you right here where it's at. Cyprus. And here is the place where these guys got out. Let's see what the Russians are doing there. So this comes from Russia Today, the 5th of December. Kremlin comments on military assistance to Syria. Moscow is discussing with Damascus what it needs to beat back jihadist forces, Dmitry Peskov said. The Russian government is analyzing the situation in Syria to determine the level of assistance Damascus needs to deal with jihadist offensive. Well, sponsored by whom? By democratic values, right? Freedom of democracy. Militant forces led by the terrorist group of PAPAPA, formerly known as PAPAPA, last week, remember this, Al-Nusra, that's what you need to know, launched a surprise assault from their base in Idlib, targeting the province of Aleppo. Moscow, which previously helped Damascus quash jihadists, has pledged to stand by President Bashar al-Assad's government during the crisis. And I'm quoting, "We are in constant dialogue with our Syrian friends in Damascus. Depending on the assessment of the situation, the amount of the assistance can be decided that the Syrian authorities would need to deal with the militants and eliminate this threat," Peskov said. The Syrian government thanked Russia this week for providing its special operations forces to help the Syrian army rescue military recruits at the Assad military PAPAPAP in Aleppo, which has been besieged by terrorists. The terrorist offensive in Syria was facilitated by, according to the Russians, the Ukrainian government, Moscow has claimed. Good. So this is professional, journalism. They claimed, and this is by the media, Russia Today, state-owned media, not by BBC, no, by the evil Russians that claim, according to the media reports, they don't say it's a fact. Ukrainian intelligence officers trained Syrian jihadists in drone warfare techniques based on experience that Kiev's forces have accumulated over the past 3 years while fighting Russia. Turkey, which borders militant-controlled Idlib, has objected to military action in the Syrian province. Ankara has argued that hostilities would cause a mass exodus of refugees to flood across the border, which it was not prepared to accept. Instead, a shaky truce was negotiated in 2020. So, what do you think, my friends? Well, the situation is not good in Syria because the democratic forces were activated. Who could activate them? You just woke up overnight and say, well, you know what? I think I'm going to go to war again. In order to do that, you have to be financed. In order to do that, you have to have weapons delivered to you, shipped to you, to fight a nation's or a country's military. It's not like you got, I know, a muzzle loading and a boom. It's not like that's not how it is. You have to have a lot of weapons. Where are the weapons coming from? Probably from Russia as well, right? Well, who is the merchant of death? Yes, Mr. Baut, right? Victor Baut is the merchant of death. But Pentagon has about what? About 80% of the globe's arms deliveries and supplies and production. But it's not the merchant of death. It's the defense ministry, defense, how do you call it, department. Because we defend, but they are all over it. It's like war is peace, the Ministry of Truth. Remember 1984, the dystopian novel of George Orwell? Go and read that. It's just, or watch the movie Idiocracy if you want to see what's going on in the United States of America. So the Russians right now, there's a setback. The other guys are going to operate, trying to open a second front. If Iran will not be hit, then they will try to weaken Russia here. We'll find out. Yesterday I covered an article. I used it in one of my videos where Iran said that they are ready to deploy troops in Syria if the Syrian government, legitimate government, allows them. It's okay. The Americans deployed nevertheless without the legitimate United Nations registered, Syrian government. No, they just decided that it's for our national security. Therefore, if you have a national security, you claim a national security threat somewhere in the neighbor's house, you can go over there and go in their couch over there, ask for tea, whatever you drink, and maybe for the wife to give you a helping hand. And then, you just, it's a national threat. But the Russians could not have anything like this in the neighboring Ukraine. These guys are all over the place claiming national security threat, but the Russians can't have in Ukraine. Why? It's Ukraine's right to invite whomever they want in there, ignoring the neutrality of Ukraine. The same here. These guys can go and shoot targets in Syria, I'm talking Israelis and the Americans, whenever they feel like. Oh, killing terrorists and other people from Iran and all that. But the other ones, they can't do the same thing to Americans. No. Or let's say to the Israelis. Let's put it this way. There are some groups designated, let's say by India, I know that for sure, called terrorist organizations in the United States of America and Canada. Is India entitled legally to strike these terrorists inside these two countries that these countries are just fostering? Well, Israel does that in Syria, in Lebanon, or actually wherever they want. We do this wherever we want. Remember, CIA sends drones from Pakistan into Afghanistan to kill terrorists that we designated as terrorists. So if a country designates a group or a person as a terrorist, can they do that inside another country? Remember the Indians allegedly killed a Sikh guy here with a separatist terrorist, according to the Indians, right? I mean, what can you do? You want to break up a country? What are you? You're not good, right? And these guys were so upset about it because they alleged it was the secret service or the services of the Indian government doing that. But we send a drone in Afghanistan and we kill whomever we want over there, terrorist designated. So the rules-based world order that these guys are telling the Russians and everybody else, that's bull. Okay, just saying. So what's gonna happen here? The Russians will fight. The Americans will support the other side with the Israelis, with these guys. Why? In the Middle East, the main thing is Iran. Why? It's too strong. Someone in the Middle East must be unopposed, unchallenged. Who could that be? Not Lebanon, not Jordan. No, 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 no. It is that little country that fights in self-defense forever, but somehow the United Nations, Security Council always has the U.S. veto of the resolutions that would stop the garbage self-defense produces and blah, 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 blah. So we'll find out. I'll keep you posted on this one. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth and be just.